This country is being destroyed by the Democratic Party. I want to start off by showing you a video. In that video, what you're seeing is Venezuelan gang members in Aurora, Colorado, and they're basically taking over. They're going around robbing stores, gun stores. That's how they're getting their guns. Then they're also going around robbing people in their apartments, taking their rent money for their own. Nothing has truly been done about this. It's continuing. And it's not only going to be in Aurora, it's also going to be throughout the United States. You're going to start seeing more and more of this because the Democratic Party is basically set on destroying this country. I'm not sure why, but that's what they're set on doing. In Ecclesiastes 1:9, it reads, "What has been, it was, will be. And what has been done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun." I quoted this verse in other videos, and I'm quoting it in this video now. How can you have an open border and not understand that you're going to have a criminal element that's coming into this country? You're going to have terrorists coming into this country. You're going to have perverts coming into this country. You're going to have all types of people. Yes, there are going to be good law-abiding citizens, but they're going to be mixed in with everyone else. And because there's no vetting system, there is a legal way to come into this country, but the Democratic Party has just demolished that. Kamala Harris was supposed to be responsible for making sure the border was secure. She did not do her job. And the reason I wanted to quote that verse, "There's nothing new under the sun." If you think back, between April 15th and October 31st of 1980, there was the Mariel boat lift. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Mariel boat lift. And what that was is a bunch of immigrants from Cuba was coming to America. And Fidel Castro was accused of opening his prison and letting those criminals out. Just regular criminals, mentally ill people, drug addicts, drug addicted people. He was taking those people, mixing them in with regular citizens and sending them over here to the United States in Miami. If you ever seen the movie Scarface, Scarface is loosely based off of the Marion boat lift that happened back in the 80s. So if you know that when these countries are sending people over, they're not necessarily going to send their best. They're also going to send their criminal elements because they want to get rid of them. They don't want to have them in their countries anymore. So that's what all these other countries are doing when they send there is an open border. That's why it's important to be educated, and that's why it's important to study history so you don't repeat the bad part of history. The United States should know better than this because they went through it with this situation with Cuba and with Fidel Castro. So how would you ever think to have an open border and put your citizens in danger because they don't know who they are around? They don't know who's moving next to them. They don't know any of this information. They're just, they're basically sitting ducks because they don't know what their government is doing. They don't know what their mayor is doing. They don't know what their city councils are doing to protect them. And in many cases, it's absolutely nothing. They're not doing anything because they're treating these criminals, they're treating these immigrants as if they're more important than their own citizens. There's nowhere in the world that is fair. And so for the United States Democratic Party to be okay with this is crazy to me. I'm also going to share with you clips of a video that I did about a year ago. To me, it's kind of crazy, especially in the time that we're living in, where you see these wars popping up here and there, and there was people who wanted to put a hit out on our ex-president Trump, regardless if you like him or not, so why have an open border when these people wanted to come over here and kill him and everyone that was in his cabinet? But, Biden never closed the border. No one ever did anything about the Kamala Harris never did anything about the border either. So it's like it's still basically an open border. And the other thing that's going through my head also is they keep talking about our food. There's a food shortage. There's a food shortage. There's going to be a food shortage. Stock up. There's a food shortage. But more and more people are coming across the border. Why not use that as a reason to say, okay, we need to stop all these people coming across the border because we're not going to have enough food to feed our American citizens, as well as all these additional people that's coming across the border. So where is the lie? Is there a food shortage, or are y'all creating a food shortage? And then y'all gonna create chaos? Because in my heart, I truly believe a lot of stuff that goes on in this country is something that is created by the government. They set traps, they set things up, and as American people, we fall into those traps. Like I said, if there's a food shortage, going to be a food shortage, the economy is bad, the economy is going down, but you're steady adding people. That's like an elevator says the capacity is 1,000 or 8,000 or however many thousand of pounds a elevator can hold. Why would you keep packing people on unless you want it to crash? You see what I'm saying? That made more sense to me. If a building said only has a capacity to hold 300 people, why would you invite 700 people to come to a building that can only hold 300 people safely? So the United States economy is falling apart. We're going to have a food shortage, but people are steady coming across the border. That don't make sense to me. Then the other part to that is, I know I'm sounding crazy right now, but the other part of that is, do y'all know that the military, well, I know some of y'all know, but all y'all probably don't know, that the military has a plan called, con plan. It's a con plan 8888. That plan is for a zombie apocalypse. So if a zombie attack happened, the military is well versed and well trained on the steps they need to take to alleviate the threat of these zombies. So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, there can be a possibility of real zombies, based on if there's a chemical, warfare and some type of chemical get into the system and cause people to start acting like zombies. But then at the same time, because I feel like this is controlled chaos, if you bring a lot of people into a situation, those people are not going to come into this country and be middle class, upper middle class, rich. They're going to bring these people in and they're going to put them in the low income areas, which is already suffering from people, struggling to survive, but they're adding more people into that environment. Okay, so now you have more people added into an environment that's not conducive to hold everybody, and there's a food shortage. Some people are here illegally. Well, basically everyone is here illegally, and you don't know where they're at, what they're doing, what they're up to, how they're, surviving, as far as eating, getting money, and different things like that. So you put all this together, you're starting a powder keg. And as you see in that video, one of the things that the Democratic Party kept talking about is there's going to be a food shortage. But everything they're talking about, everything we're going through now, it was done by them. it was put in place by the Democratic Party. Like I said earlier, they're working hard to destroy this country. Kamala Harris is saying once she becomes president, one of the things that she's going to do is she's going to stop the price gouging when it comes to food. If she is allowed to become president, and if she is allowed to put that in place and it is passed, she's going to cause another food shortage. The first time the Democratic caused the food shortage is because of the lie they told about the pandemic. The lie as far as not wanting people to work, the lie they put forth, and they the one who stopped people from being able to go out and work and unload the docks to get the food where they need to be. They caused that food shortage. And food was just sitting on the docks and they couldn't get where they needed to be. That was because of the Democratic Party and that lie they put forth when it came to the pandemic. And then she's trying to do the same thing now, is have it where there is a food shortage because it's going to be a lot of stores and people that can't afford to actually buy the food to put it in the stores to be able to sell it to the public. And now we have more people in the country than we did when the pandemic started. So you're putting more people in the country. You're setting this country up to fail. And if people are still banking on Kamala to save us, banking on Kamala to straighten this out, when she is, one, did not handle the border, two, she is part of the problem because she is part of the Democratic Party. As if they're going to get off course on their desire to destroy this country when it comes to, if you have a son, your son go to school, come back a daughter. If you have a daughter, send them to school, they're going to come back your son. People are not being educated. They're not educating in elementary, middle, high school, and they're not educating their kids in college. Like I said, I don't understand why the Democratic Party is so hell-bent on destroying this country. And so if they're allowed to continue, we already seeing the direction this country is going into under the helm of the Democratic Party. And I want to share another video with you.
Kamala Harris says that as president, she would pass the first ever federal ban on price gouging on food, which would include penalties for businesses that break the rules. Price controls might sound like a good idea, but here's the truth. When prices can't rise and fall naturally as a function of supply and demand, all sorts of bad things tend to happen. If producers can't raise prices when their own costs increase, due to inflation, for example, they're often better off by simply not making anything at all than having to take a loss on sales. That's why price controls usually lead to shortages. In The Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith observed how price controls in India turned a drought into a full-blown famine. In the 1970s, Richard Nixon's price controls on oil created a gasoline famine and these long lines at the pumps. More recently, Venezuela put price controls on toilet paper and other essentials, and, you can guess what happened next.